Thank you and welcome. Dr. Jan, we were talking about your very interesting book about wherein you have interviewed 4,000 successful American executives, you see. And I had asked you wittingly that why not about a book about women? And you said that you had your own reasons, you see. Your book was an international bestseller, and it's been translated into many languages, and you have been visited by so many executives from so many developed countries for your advice, see. What would you advise the politicians, because you are engaged in some sort of politics with the American expatriates, see, to implement a system or a policy that brings peace to the entire world?
You know, I have to tell you that I'm a realist and not an idealist. So I wouldn't even go there. If I were to give a simple answer, I would say if you listen to the people and you end up developing policies and you act on those that meets the needs of your constituents, of the people of your country, then you're going to be guiding your country right.
Right. But then again, the constituents are different people, like made up of a different variety of people, like the businessmen, they're the arms dealers, then they're arms manufacturers, and they would like to sell. And you can't sell without a war.
I don't know much about that field. I haven't consulted in arms manufacturing.
Okay. Let's talk about, go back to your candidates. You have 14 candidates in the race to win the Republican nomination, isn't it?
Yes.
And you explained in the last segment that how these nominations work and how they are. Do these nominees, would-be nominees, prospective nominees, do they have different policies, or do they have just because of they are selected because of their personalities?
No, it's not personality, but there are certain policies that are considered.
But they're all Republicans.
They are all Republicans. But if you take immigration, for example, Donald Trump wants to build a wall, and Jeb Bush has a slightly different view on an immigration policy. Rubio's differs from Cruz's. And so what you really want to understand is what are the aspects, the details of their policy, and how do they differ. And also, from a conservative standpoint, we have a very strong belief in honoring our Constitution. And so you want to listen to your candidate about how they feel about gun, our Second Amendment, free speech, our First Amendment, and right down the line. Are they going to uphold our Constitution? Obama has not upheld our Constitution.
Well, it's not for me to defend him, but you have elected him twice, so he's probably...
I didn't elect him twice.
You mean the Americans, you see, or the U.S. You also have a tendency to use the word Americans, because North America, South America, no. Just Americans to mean people from the United States, isn't it?
Right, because even though you have North America, you've got Canada, they're Canadians.
Yeah.
And you've got Mexico.
The Mexicans.
Yeah. So that's why we use United States of America. Therefore, we're called Americans.
Okay. Mr. Trump, Mr. Jeb Bush, and Ted Cruz are three different personalities, and you said that they have their own ideas about refugees. But I would think that being part of the same party, the party will have one policy.
Well, first off, you use the word refugees. They're immigrants.
Yep.
And the issue more from an immigration standpoint is whether someone is a legal immigrant or an illegal immigrant. And the bottom line is that America is a country made up of immigrants. There are a lot of people in line who are abiding by the rules
Right.
so that they can be or have become legal immigrants. What the objection is whether the Democrats who want to give citizenship to these illegal immigrants, why should they go to the front of the line when there are people who have played by the rules and they have been waiting in line and they have paid their dues or paid their taxes or paid their fees? Why should they be shunted aside and the illegals be given citizenship?
Right. This is a news item. I'll read it to you, and I would like your opinion. U.S. governors scapegoat Syrian refugees. Immigrants, I will call them.
No, the Syrians are refugees. Immigrants, you could immigrate to America, and that would make you a legal person
Right.
who wants to work and deliver skills and services. Refugees are people who are
Seeking
escaping the
refuge.
country. Exactly, you've got it.
Right. In September 2015, President Obama pledged to admit through resettlement 10,000 Syrian refugees during 2016. However, more than half of the U.S. governors this week said they will turn away Syrian refugees. And you have 32 governors from the Republican Party.
We do, and 29 governors, as well as many Democrat politicians, are against Obama's decision. And at first it was 10,000, and then he said 65,000, and then he went up to 200,000. The biggest concern is, has ISIS planted sleepers in the refugees? And so there is a great concern for the safety of America. And the governors have taken a very strong stand that until the U.S. has a better vetting policy so that we can really determine if they truly are refugees that need our support, then they do not want an executive order to be forced upon them. They want to protect their citizens.
That's sensible, of course. I mean, you have every right to question their validity and whether they are there for rightful purposes or not. That is okay.
Well, and if you read a lot of articles, they are saying that the majority of refugees from Syria are young men. Now, I don't think anyone would object to taking in a
Young,
mother
educated.
and young children. But when the majority of the refugees are young men, then I think that any country that raises the concern that they could be part of a sleeper cell, I don't think any country should be questioned for raising that issue.
Right. But young men are also an asset, isn't it? You don't have to train them. They are educated.
Oh.
They can work. They can...
that is making a very huge assumption that I think is necessarily accurate. I mean, if we go back to the immigration...
They look able-bodied, as I see on television.
Well...
Very properly dressed, probably from clothes.
But what skills do they have?
I have no idea. I have no idea. But they say that there are... Some people say that they are architects, they are engineers, they are doctors. Everybody who was interviewed was either a professional or a young man.
Everybody who was interviewed, I would really challenge you on that one.
Most of them.
Really?
Yeah.
And
they seem to be very, very well maintained. I mean, like they didn't seem, I mean, I agree with you, they didn't seem like refugees. They seem to be like come off a university hostel or something.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any articles or anything on the news that has shown that kind of caliber of people.
Okay. We keep going back to our... Who do you think out of these 14 candidates has a fair chance of being nominated by
You know, I get asked that question a lot during this pre-primary season, and I go back to my answer, which is right now, until people start showing up at the ballot box in the primaries, we really don't have any idea. The polls really are telling you who these voters are thinking about voting for, but until they vote, we don't know. I mean, on one hand, you could say this insurgency movement that is going all around the world and not wanting an establishment politician. Well, right now, it's looking like maybe a non-establishment politician will take the nomination. On the other hand, we could have world situations change, just like Paris.
Right.
We had this attack, and now, prior to the Paris attack, people were concerned about jobs, they were concerned about immigration, they were concerned about the economy. Now they're concerned about someone who has experience in foreign affairs.
Right.
We have a very long primary process, and it is a very interesting thing to follow and to watch. And by next July,
Who
we
has
will
experience, who is most experienced out of these 14 in foreign affairs?
I'm not sure I can answer that, because I think that it's not necessarily someone who has actually had the role. I mean, Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, well, she has experience with foreign affairs, but let's look at what she did to Libya. I mean, part of the outgrowth of ISIS is because of Obama and Hillary Clinton and their policies. I think it is someone who has the intellectual capacity to understand exactly what is happening in the world and to be able to work within the UN and with NATO and with the other country leaders to make the right decisions to pull it together.
Well, thank you very much for giving me this insight. Do you feel you are in any way optimistic about the Republicans winning the?
I'm very optimistic.
Is it because the Democrats have had 2 terms, or?
No, I'm not optimistic from that standpoint. I'm optimistic because of what the Republican Party stands for, what the issues are, what the American public viewpoint is, and what they need. And I think that the Republicans are answering those issues far better than the Democrats are doing right now.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you.
It was a pleasure being with you. Thank
you
you for having me.
Not at all. Thank you, viewers, for being with us, and we hope that you have enjoyed the show as much as we have. Dr. Jan is an expert on the political scene of America, and also she is a business consultant. She has written books, and she is a visiting lecturer, a speaker at most of the business houses, and she has so much of marketing achievement that an hour is not enough. We would definitely like to have her once again with us when she has time. Thank you, and we have enjoyed your company too. Same time, same channel. See you again.